Good evening. This is the Burnsville Economic Development Commission meeting of January 8th, and I'm Chairman Gene Grazzini, and on my right is Chris Andrysky, Chris John, and Sandra Copen, and our leader, Skip Ninehouse. Happy New Year to everyone. We need a adoption of the agenda, and I need a motion for that.
I'll move to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
No discussion. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes. Then I'll need a motion on the approval of the minutes from November 14th, 2013. Someone give me a motion?
So moved.
Second, Chris?
Second.
Okay. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Open business forum. I do not think we've got anyone in the audience that's going to be asking any questions of business or for the city. The next thing, Skip, you've got the draft of the 2014 work plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As soon as we get our little PowerPoint up here, we can begin. I'd like to start off by actually reviewing the work that the EDC did for 2013. You did have a very active year in 2013. And then I will present staff's recommendation for your work plan for this year, and then we can certainly have discussions on any items that you might wish to have also included in the work plan. Last year, the EDC did receive an update on the efforts in the MRQ for soil remediation and the interim use permits that were issued. On two of your meetings, the EDC reviewed the open to business results. The EDC reviewed and recommended the sale of the AAA for land for a hotel. We actually did that twice. The EDC reviewed the concept of utilizing ads on the city's website. Your recommendation was that it be based on return on investment. Our communications department right now is actually in the process of receiving a proposal from Google to basically manage advertising on our website, and they have told our communications department that we would be one of the few cities in which Google is actually taking care of the advertising for a city website. So it's, I think they termed it, somewhat futuristic. The EDC also did review the results from Greater MSP for last year. The EDC reviewed, and you did recommend adoption of the thrift store ordinance. City Council did, in fact, adopt that ordinance last year. The EDC reviewed and recommended adoption of the vending truck ordinance, which City Council also did adopt that ordinance. The EDC, at your November meeting, recommended Council adopt the legislative agenda, which they have adopted and have presented to our legislators. The Beckrek Group and a couple of EDC commissioners did plan an event. You may recall that we actually did not host the event due to the fact that the attendance from the broker community was low, and it wasn't going to offset the cost of actually having the event, which was going to be a little bit of a road rally here in Burnsville. The EDC received updates on our Burnsville STEM Alliance activity at each of your meetings last year. EDC commissioners attended 3 of 14 ribbon cuttings / grand openings that were held last year. 5 EDC commissioners did attend at least one event, but out of the mixture of ribbon cuttings, other types of economic development activities. We did have attendance at 5 events. At each of the EDC meetings last year, we offered what we refer to as the Open to Business Forum, where any business could come and address the Economic Development Commission on any item. Last year, we did not have any businesses that took advantage of that opportunity. The EDC reviewed and recommended sale of the land at Cliff and River Ridge. You may recall that a couple of months after you did that recommendation, we brought back to you a request from the proposed developer for us to reimburse a Phase 2 study. The EDC recommended reimbursement of up to 50% of that Phase 2 study. When the EDA reviewed that, the EDA decided that they would not reimburse any of the Phase 2 study. That developer then, in fact, did pull their development proposal, and we did not sell the land at Cliff and River Ridge. Proposal for your work plan for this year. This would be staff's proposal of what be included in your work plan. Staff would propose that the EDC continue to receive updates on the Open to Business initiative. Based on the quarterly reports we get from the Open to Business consultant, we will probably be able to update you twice this year. Our police department is in the process of drafting some changes to our massage ordinance. We would include that in your work plan for you to review and make recommendations.
Did we work on that 2 years ago?
Mr. Chairman, it was either 2 or 3 years ago that they did a rewrite on the ordinance, and this would be a second rewrite in that ordinance. Staff would also propose that the EDC again receive an update on the Greater MSP initiative this year. We would probably make that at your November meeting. That would give us almost a year for you to review. The city has received an application from one of our building owners requesting a zoning amendment that would allow sports performance training centers in the I-1 zoning. It is not currently allowed in that zoning. It is allowed in I-3 with a conditional use permit. Planners are working through that process. It will go to Planning Commission. Staff would also recommend we have it on your work plan to come before you, and that probably would occur at your March meeting. Something that was not in the background material that was supplied to you last week is we are going to have to create what is known as a wellhead protection zone. It is a state requirement. All cities are going to have to do this. And basically the idea behind this is to ensure that the drinking water in the municipalities is safe. We already limit the type of developments very near our wellheads. This is actually going to encompass almost the whole city of Burnsville. That is something that has just come up. Our planners have just begun to work on that, and quite frankly, they are just now going to be meeting with an engineering consultant to help us with that process. But since it will encompass changes to a lot of our zoning, which will obviously could have some impact on some businesses, we would propose to put that on the work plan and bring that before you when it's been finished at the staff level for your review and recommendation. Staff would also propose on your work plan that we once again next year review the legislative agenda and you make any recommendations to council for that event. Staff would recommend that we continue to have some sort of a BECREC, Burnsville Commercial Real Estate Council event, and that commissioners assist in that. And then staff would propose that we continue to do at each one of your meetings updates on the STEM initiative. 2 items that staff has put on your, or I guess carried over on your work plan for 2014, we would like at least some input and discussion from the commission. One is the Open to Business Forum. That has been on the EDC work plan for the past 2 years, so we've had that item on the agenda for the past 2 years. During that 2-year period of time, we have not had a business actually utilize that portion of the agenda and come before the EDC. We can certainly leave it on the agenda. There's no harm done in having it on the agenda, but that would be something that staff would ask the commission for some direction on. The other is the item on that has been on your work plan for the last couple of years, and that's the commissioners' involvement at events, primarily ribbon cuttings and open houses. Many of those events are held during the day. So for those of you that work outside of Burnsville, it's obviously tough to make those events. The item that's been on the work plan for the last few years reads that commissioners will attend 4 of those events.
And
Staff,
you only got 3. I did catch 4 myself.
did you?
Yeah.
Okay. Staff would ask for some direction on that. Obviously, if you want to leave it on your work plan, you certainly can. If you want to modify it, you certainly can. Or if you wish to have it removed because it's just one of those items that's going to be very tough to actually have commissioners, we can certainly do that. That's staff's proposal for the EDC work plan for 2014. Certainly, we would stand for questions, and then any comments and or any other items that the EDC commissioners believe should be included in the work plan. We should discuss it at that time, plus the 2 that staff is asking for direction on.
Commissioners?
Yeah, Skip, on the open to business section of our meetings, I remember the first meeting that I attended as a commissioner when we had the massage ornament, and we had, I would think 5 or 6 owners of massage companies, and we had great dialogue. There was a good audience. What do you do to market to the community that, hey, you can come now and talk about issues that might come up in front of the council, and the EDC might give guidance on that? Is there a marketing effort on that? And then should we be specific about saying, okay, this month we're going to address commercial real estate and strip malls. This month we're going to, address restaurants. And, like any advertising campaign with my clients or my business with my employees, if it's specific, you get greater engagement. And I'm wondering how we can utilize that, because I think it would be well attended if it was done right.
Commissioner Andreski, to answer your question, we're somewhat dealing with 2 different topics. Mm-hmm. The massage ordinance that you addressed, typically if we have a specific thing, as you've noted, such as that, for example, the massage ordinance that will come before you this year, at the end of this month, we will actually engage the owners of the massage parlors in town to come, and we'll share with them police's suggestion for updates, get their feedback and everything else before it actually starts going to planning and EDC. They will obviously be told when it's going to planning, EDC, and council. Hence, they have a tendency to come. Usually, whenever we have a specific type of item like that affects a specific business class, we will get businesses, if they have any input they want to give, to come. The Open to Business Forum is very similar to council's citizen comments, in that that's a portion on your agenda for a business to come and address anything that really isn't on your plate to be handled. We just, in the last 2 years, have not had a business that has seen any desire to do that. We probably could, when we first adopted that on your agenda 2 years ago, we did advertise it a lot. The chamber was helpful to us to advertise it. We probably certainly could do a better job of putting out that if you want to talk to the Economic Development Commission, you can come and do this. We also somewhat rely on you as commissioners, as you interface with Burnsville businesses, to remind them that if they ever have a desire to address the commission on something, there is a portion of the agenda where they can come and speak about whatever they want to speak. But if the commission wants to leave it on the work plan and leave it on the agenda, we can certainly make some attempt to somehow make it more known.
As an example, Craig, restaurants. What's the greatest issue restaurants have in Burnsville? Boom, you reach out. You could probably get, some restaurant owners to come in here. Burnsville Center, have a Burnsville Center month. Go to all the businesses in Burnsville Center. What is your greatest concern with the city council and the mayor and whatnot? And I think if you made it more specific, like any advertising campaign, if you made it specific, you get a greater response. And I want to keep it on the agenda. I think all the commissioners want to keep it on the agenda, because that's one of the roles of this commission. But we have to have participation also to make it valuable. So,
if we had a lead item, as Chris suggests, restaurants. We're going to discuss any problems in restaurants or words to that effect, or anything else that the community wants to bring before us. So you don't leave anybody out. But we are talking about restaurants as first things. Yes,
excuse me, I would guess that two things. I would suggest leaving it on. I would guess even if you tried to make it specific to a target market, unless there's an issue, you know, as a restaurant person, why would you come here unless there's an issue like the massage business? When there became an issue, now they want to come, so it's not really open forum anymore. It's something that they have a vested interest in, and they're going to come and state their case. And other than that, I'm not sure in what would happen that would cause me to go and say, here's a problem I have. I'd have been on the phone to Skip or to find one of us to voice my opinion ahead of time, and then if it's something that's coming before the commission, then show up. You know, with that being said, I think I'd still leave it on there as we're open to that. You know, by all means, come and voice your opinion, or if there's an issue.
I'm assuming, I'm sensing that we'll leave it on there, and as a staff, we will certainly attempt to come up with some advertising or public relations type campaign to get the information out there maybe.
Commissioner Johns?
Is there a way to invite the businesses more specifically via email, through a direct email saying, or even
Commissioner
postcards?
John, I wish that was the case. The issue we run into is we just don't have the emails for all 2,600 businesses to do that. Typically, when we're trying to engage a broad business, we'll do two things. One, we'll issue a press release, and two, we'll engage our chamber to ask them to go out. If we're looking at engaging a specific category of businesses, for example, the massage parlor owners, then we will call them out and actually send a letter directly to them. Unfortunately, cost wouldn't allow us to send a letter to 2,600 businesses, you know, 6 times a year saying, hey, don't forget, you can come before the EDC if you want to talk to them. But we can certainly do some press releases, and I'm quite certain that our chamber would be more than willing to help us. They just need to be asked, to send something out and say, there's an EDC meeting next week. If you have an issue you'd like to bring to them, attend and bring it to them.
You need a recommendation on that, Mr. Nelson?
We can leave it on your work plan, and you can just make your recommendation on your work plan. The only other input staff would be asking for is regarding the commissioner's attendance at events. If you want to leave it, modify it, or delete it from your work plan.
Commissioners? Commissioner John?
I remember this coming up again last year, and even though we might not be making these goals, it's nice to have a goal to try to attain. I don't know if anybody would be in favor of lessening it 4, but
Well, I think it's good to be told that the events are taking place, and if it's a chamber/city event, I've gone to those. Typically, the problem is they're at 10 in the morning, or they're at 2 in the afternoon, and my business is in Burnsville. I know Craig's is in Burnsville, but we're running our businesses, and so it's not so easy to just skip out of there.
No, we have, especially last year, as Commissioner Andreski has pointed out, it seems like all of them really were in that 10 to 2 kind of range.
I would see it, and then a couple times I'd be, I'll make that, and then next thing you know, I'm on the phone, and it's 15 minutes past the ribbon cutting time.
I would also say that, interestingly enough, while we did not see a decline in the number of new businesses coming to Burnsville last year, we did see a somewhat less amount of ribbon cuttings and grand openings last year than we had in previous years. I cannot tell you the reason why. It was just one of those things. But it was interesting that the number of business coming didn't decrease, but the number of those holding an event to announce they're coming for some reason did decrease. But if the commission wants to leave it on the work plan, we certainly can.
I think we should.
And are we looking to leave it at attendance at 4 by each commissioner?
sure.
Mr. Chair, if there's other items for the work plan that the commission has, we should discuss those at this time. If not, then we would need a recommendation from the EDC that council adopt the work plan.
Commissioners? Nothing additional? Can we get a recommendation?
Motion.
I'll move to recommend that we keep or,
Keep the agenda as is.
there we go, et cetera.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Passed.
Thank you, Commissioner. The other item, I should point out, the work plan will go to council on January 21st. Our chair, Chair Grazzini, will not be able to make that meeting. I do have an email out to our vice chair, Ari Silke, who's attending the electronics convention, and hopefully Ari will be available and can attend that and make the presentation to council. The other item before us is the STEM initiative is a part of the EDC's work plan, and we do have a separate work plan for the STEM initiative. What I'd like to do is go over what was accomplished last year under that initiative, and then also lay out staff's recommendation for the STEM work plan. And I do need to step back. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. The one other item we did forget is we do need at least 2 commissioners assigned to the BECREC subcommittee. Last year it was Commissioner Andreski, Commissioner Kleppe, and Chair Grazzini. We can keep the same or assign new ones.
Any volunteers?
Is this the event that was at Canterbury, Skip?
Yes, and what we ask for our commissioners' help is we typically have 1 or 2 planning meetings with the BECREC, with the building owners, that we ask commissioners' involvement in.
Do we know why it fell apart last year? I mean, we know why they didn't show up. But
Yes.
It was,
My hazard guess is the reason they did not show up is that typically in the past at the road rally, the building owners gave them cash when they came to each building. Due to, coming out of a downturn and everything else, we elected this time not to do that, and we believe that's probably one of the driving influences. If a building owner showcases one of their buildings to the Twin Cities commercial brokers, they will typically do it over lunch and provide them with lunch, and then in many cases they also will give them cash for coming. So we believe the fact that cash was not on the table, took us from typically 60 or 70 brokers doing the road rally down to, I think off the top of my head, recollecting, I think we were at like 20 or 22. And the building owners were going to put up some raffle prizes and things like that, and said, for 20 or 22, we just don't, the cost isn't worth moving forward. We will have a planning meeting with the BECREC group, probably end of July, beginning of February, to plan an event. And we'll talk about, what kind of event should we have. Staff also has some suggestions that we may even want to do some non-event things, but utilize the fund that's available for some other types of promotion of the commercial properties in town. And those 2 meetings would be the meetings that at least 2 of you commissioners would be involved in.
I can make it.
I can do that.
Sandra?
I'll volunteer as well.
Okay. Mr. John?
Thank you, Commissioners. The STEM initiative, and as you recall, this initiative is about 4 years old now. It is an initiative by the Economic Development Commission and the City of Burnsville to grow the businesses in Burnsville that have basically a science, technology, healthcare, engineering, or math basis to them. Last year, we actually attracted 9 new companies to the City of Burnsville that had a basis in the STEM, and 2 of our existing companies that have that type of a basis expanded last year. We exhibited at 2 of the Economic Development Association of Minnesota conferences. We exhibited at the Minnesota High Tech Association Conference, and in partnership with the state and a couple of other entities, we exhibited at the 2-day Medical Device and Manufacturing Show in Minneapolis. In the quarterly Burnsville Bulletin for the past 2 years, we actually have what we call a business page, in which typically a page or half page is segmented just for activity relative to the business community. That's something new that started 2 years ago. We continued that last year. The Microscope, which is a e-newsletter that goes out to a listing of companies with STEM backgrounds. We published a newsletter every quarter and sent it out last year. We did advertise in both the EDAM and the MHTA newsletters. In the case of EDAM, we advertised in all of their newsletters. In the case of MHTA, we advertised they have a weekly thing they call Tech Tuesday. We advertised in 9 of those. And what we did is we advertised in the 3 weeks prior to each one of their significant events they held last year. Theory being, people have a tendency to look to that information those 2 or 3 weeks right before the event. And those events were their conference, their golf tournament, and their Techne Awards. So that's...
What do we see in our advertisement?
It's a generic little ad that has one of the Burnsville businesses across the top. It has our logo, and then it has location, business friendly, high tech. It's just a very spot little ad. And then in these types of online newsletters, if you click on the ad, it actually takes you to the section of the Burnsville website that we refer to as Why Burnsville, which then has all the number of pages that talk about development in Burnsville. It has driven quite a few people to the website. It's actually been rather successful for us. We responded to a number of requests from Greater MSP last year. We covered those when we did the update to you. Responded to a number of requests from various commercial brokers, responded to some business owners' requests for needs for space, land, and things like that. We also have a quarterly newsletter that goes out to the commercial broker community. We have about 95 to 100 email addresses that we send a quarterly newsletter out to. Typically, that newsletter will highlight significant things in the business community within Burnsville. It lists always the new business. The idea being is to continue to reinforce in front of those brokers that new businesses are always coming to Burnsville. And then we also do something that we refer to as e-greetings, and that is we basically, for every holiday throughout the year, we will send out just a little, Happy Halloween or whatever to the broker community. Again, just keeping that name of Burnsville in front of them. We did partner with the Burnsville Chamber and Burnsville High School last October for a career day, a morning. Probably had about 100 plus students that attended the career day. We had 19 businesses exhibit, and the students were able to go talk to them. We had someone from the Workforce Center address the students about how to interview and how to prepare for a job and everything else. Received very good comments from the students, the counselors, and the high school, and it is one of the things that they're asking for the Chamber and the city to partner with them again. We have a staff representative on the Workforce Investment Board Business Services Committee, and then we also have a staff representative on the Workforce Investment Board's Executive Committee. Workforce Investment Board in Dakota and Scott County, of which Mr. Grazzini is also a member of. Are you off? Yeah. Basically focuses on workforce efforts in Scott and Dakota County. We applied for and did receive a grant from the Dakota County CEDA for $250,000 last year. It will actually is earmarked to be used for an expansion of the parking deck in heart of the city, and we will actually be applying for another grant next week for that same facility. Last year was the first year of the Open to Business program. We did extensive promotion of that program, and we've had very good results, if you've seen when we discussed it twice last year at your meetings. We have continued to reach out to welcome new companies to Burnsville. We attempt to visit each one of the new companies. We do not always make all of them, but visit them, give them a little packet that just gives them information about Burnsville. As we've already discussed, we coordinate ribbon cuttings and grand openings. Most of the time we partner with the Chamber. We also attempt, every time a new business comes to Burnsville, to put a welcome on the city's Facebook page to welcome them to Burnsville. The mayor holds a quarterly CEO event at which we typically have about a dozen or more Burnsville CEOs and business owners that meet and discuss things that are going on in Burnsville. We actually last year we only did 2 of them. There were 2 that just the timing just did not work out. And then something that I believe may be unique to Burnsville is whenever one of our businesses is noted for some sort of achievement, they do receive a letter signed by the mayor and the city manager just congratulating them on their achievement. Many of those are rankings in the Business Journal and things like that, but if a city receives any, or a business receives any type of award, they receive those kinds of letters signed by the mayor and the city manager. For the STEM work plan for this year, what staff would recommend is that one of our goals be to attract 5 companies with that STEM basis to them to Burnsville this year, and we would look to have 2 of our currently Burnsville-based companies do an expansion. I can't tell you which 2 those are because I don't have those 2 in my pocket right now, but that would be 2 of our goals. We would staff would suggest that we continue all the various marketing efforts that we do relative to business attraction and STEM attraction. We are looking to actually upgrade the 2 e-newsletters, and probably on Friday or early next week, the upgraded newsletters will be sent out, both the Microscope and the BECREC newsletter. They will be significant upgrades from the newsletters you've all seen in the past, and we think that they're going to make quite an impression on the folks out there. We would propose as part of the work plan we continue to assist the brokers, greater MSP, any business owners with any space needs or anything else. Continue the efforts we have with the workforce efforts with the WIB. We would propose on the work plan that we continue to seek out development incentives to help us with our development, seek out grant efforts, and also help any companies that are seeking out any type of grants that they may have. And then lastly, continue all of those different types of retention efforts that we've done in the past. We would propose that we continue to work on those for this year. We certainly would stand for any questions or comments you have about a proposed work plan for the STEM initiative.
Commissioners, any comments? Questions? That's quite a plan. Quite a plan. Very good.
There are no additions. This would be an item that we would actually need a motion for your adoption. This is an item that, since it's an initiative of this commission, you actually adopt this work plan.
I look for a motion to adopt the STEM work plan for 2014.
Well said, so moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Well, hearing nothing else, I need a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, second? Somebody's going to second? Russ is going to second. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners.
That was pretty exciting, wasn't it?
Hard work comes after all these items.